Hello and welcome to an episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason and I'm back in Vincennes, Indiana. I am downtown and I'm staying in front of an area where a true American institution was founded. It started right here in Vincennes, Indiana. Now, it was a little before my time, but some baby boomers may remember it. Some have probably even shopped at this place. The place that I'm referring to is Gimbels. Yes, you may have heard of Gimbels if you watch the movie Elf with Will Ferrell every Christmas. You'll see Gimbels department store. Well, it's long been defunct, but I'll tell you about the history by this new marker they put up last year. Here we go. All right, so this is crossing of Main and 2nd Street. That is the George Rogers Clark Memorial over there. I know you can't see it. Here is a marker put up by the Indiana Historical Bureau. Gimbels department store. Bavarian Jewish immigrants Adam and Solomon Gimbel worked as peddlers before establishing a dry goods and clothing store here by 1848. Regular advertising and quality goods drew customers, and the business prospered. The company moved to Milwaukee in 1887, expanding to Philadelphia in 1894, and because of his grandson's urgency, to put one there in New York City in 1910. In the 1920s, Gimbels went public and acquired Saks & Company, and I gotta go on the other side here. Gimbels became one of the largest department stores in the U.S. by the late 1920s, with over 50 locations nationwide by the 1960s. It appeared in film and television shows such as Miracle on 34th Street and I Love Lucy. Yes, I'm talking about the original Miracle on 34th Street, by the way. Local business owners used the Gimbel name for stores here into the 1980s. Though they were separate from the iconic national chain. This was put up here in 2024, and it was also put up by the William G. Pomeroy Foundation, the Jewish American Society for Historic Preservation, the Indiana Jewish Historical Society, and Vincennes Historical and Antiquarian Society. So I'm left to assume that it was here at this corner because, yeah, I don't know. I mean, why else would they put the marker here? And I don't really know the whole significance of that watermelon. So let's take a look real quick. Looks very tasty, except I don't like watermelon. All right, so let me tell you some factoids about Gimbels. So Gimbels was in very much competition with Macy's, which is having its own problems at the moment, but Macy's is still somewhat of a successful department store chain. But Gimbels had its own Thanksgiving Day parade, started around the 1920s, and it was in very close competition with Macy's, like I said. I mean, as in Thanksgiving Day parades as well. But the parade still exists. However, Dunkin' Donuts is now the sponsor of it. The company peaked with 53 stores in 1965, and at the time it was the largest department store in the world. Yes, even better than Sears, which, yeah, it's a thing of the past as well. Funny, it's kind of a pattern. But the Gimbels closed for good in 1987. There were 25 stores left at that time. I'll get to that in a minute, how it all happened. But it moved to Milwaukee due to its influx of German immigration. Gimbels also owned radio stations and TV stations during the Great Depression. One of the most popular toys made its debut at Gimbels, and that was the Slinky. Gimbels was also the first department store to ever have an escalator. Yeah, you know, the ones that we see at the shopping malls. I know, kind of some really random trivia. Well, Brown & Wilkinson, I don't know if it was a private equity firm, but they bought out Gimbels in 1973. They also owned Marshall Fields. Well, they did that in 1982. They also owned Kohl's, yes, the clothing store chain, as well as other large businesses. But in 1986, the people running the Brown & Wilkinson, they said Gimbels would be no longer profitable for many reasons. And there was also, they were having a lot of shoplifting problems, well, particularly the New York City location, because it was really close, the entrance was really close to a subway, and there was a lot of shoplifting activity going on. That's pretty much what I can tell you about Gimbels. And I'm not really sure why, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was for nostalgic purposes, but why they revived it in the Elf movie that came out in 2003. So anytime you watch that movie, you can thank Jason or me for telling you about Gimbels. All right, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Historically Marked. Well, hopefully you learned a little bit more about this Gimbels chain. Maybe you haven't heard about it before, but hopefully I gave you some education on it. So anywho, this is Jason coming to you live from Vincennes, Indiana. Sign off.